episode.
I don't hate it.
I mean, I'm fine.
I like the little cold shoulder.
I know the little silky
Silk
in there.
Just
A little silky, you know
Look at
what I'm
her
saying?
wrapping her friends.
You
Let's
know?
go.
Wow.
Gotta do that
Wow,
thing.
wow.
Hey, what's going on, world? It's your girl, Shy.
And your girl T.
And welcome to the CheyTea Podcast.
Woo! We have a special guest in the building today. The beautiful Miss Leanne, the talented. This girl was a former Argos cheerleader.
My sister over here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, she owns her own business. Young in age.
Gotta do the damn thing these days, you know. Everyone's out here hustling.
Period. You've been on The Amazing Race.
Yes, after my time on the Argos, hit up the Amazing Race. That was a wild journey.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we can dive into that
Yeah,
too.
I can't wait to hear about that. What else? You manage another business, another company.
Yeah, so
Cotton
I'm
candy.
Yeah, I'm working full time with Cotton Candy.
Yeah. So what is what's your position with Cotton Candy?
So I'm the operations manager with them. So it's a lot of like behind the scenes work, a lot of like payroll, scheduling, all the kind of stuff that like keeps it going. All the gears grinding together.
Yes. That's awesome. You just do it all.
I try.
And just
Keep
studying
busy.
on top of it.
Stop.
Modeling.
Make me blush over here.
She's got it all going on. Yes. But today's episode, we're going to dive into something that is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like it'll be a good episode. A lot of people will be able to learn and sort of take a lot of things from it. So I'm excited.
Yes, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we just thought it would have been important for us to discuss this. Although this episode is not, playing or premiering or happening, or you're not watching this in May, but May was like 2 days ago or something like that. So like you're fine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's always mental health awareness, but we wanted to especially do it for this episode this month, just because it is extremely important, especially during these hard lockdown, unlock, unlock.
Lockdown 95.
Lockdown 95. We're still in this, but we're going to fight through it.
No, I'm outside. So
You check the cold shoulder, she's done. She's
I'm
outside.
She said,
I'm outside, so I'm with you guys.
period.
But it's good that we discuss it. So we did just get into, your big celebrity stylist resume.
Yes.
I'm washed up, guys.
But just tell us about your experience with mental health and just like why is it so important to you to use your voice to put it out there.
For sure. It's always something that I dealt with and struggled with, but you don't really know. I mean, it became more of a popular thing with like Bell Let's Talk, and I find within the last like 5-6 years. So it was actually my first year on Argos, which throwback would have been like 2015.
Wow.
A lot of people were just coming out with like their own stories and whatnot, and I mean, a couple of the girls on the team, and I was like, okay, like other people are dealing with it. I can, maybe talk about my stuff as well, and like it helps you look inward as well. And I was like, okay, so we put a label on it. Now I know what it is. Okay, what are the steps to kind of deal with it? So that was kind of my first step to like opening the doors and being a little more comfortable talking about it, vulnerable as well. It's not something that you want when you're in like the public eye. Like obviously we're not big celebrities, but when you're putting on that uniform, you have an organization to represent, you're your own brand to represent.
Your face.
I was like, how do I kind of go about this? But like, you want to be real because everyone looks at you as like, your hair's done, your makeup's done, you've got this uniform on, you're perfect. Like, what could be wrong, kind of thing? And it's like, let's break those stereotypes that like we're all just human too.
Yeah.
And that's something I always wanted to be, is just like real for people. Because if you look a certain way, or you live a certain lifestyle, or you grow up in a certain area, or whatever it may have you, people are like, oh, you don't struggle. Like, how could you possibly struggle? You have all of it ready to go, like you're set. How? And it's like, I'm human just the same as anyone else. So it was important for me to just be able to look inside, know what I'm dealing with, figure out how to deal with it, and then just be open about it, because maybe it opens the doors and the conversation for other people as well.
Right. Yeah. No, I feel like when other people open up and share their stories, it allows for other people to be like, okay, this is okay. I can also open up and share my story.
Yeah, it was nice too, like within our team as well, knowing that you weren't alone. So someone who is kind of going through the motions similar in a sense as you, like let's say back on the Argos team or whatnot, you're like, oh, okay, like I'm not the only one, right? Like one of my like cheer sisters is dealing with this too. So it makes it more normalized, which I think is like the direction we're going in within the last like 5-6 years. It's been great that it's become more normalized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's amazing that you were able to open up and sort of share your story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been nice just to be able, like I was saying, like to be able to talk about it, normalize it, maybe, you know, kind of open the doors for other people to talk about it as well. Mm-hmm. That was a huge part though on The Amazing Race too. If you watch the episode where we were eliminated, spoiler alert, this is back from 2018, so hopefully you've all seen it by now. But I had, and Mar as well, my teammate, we both ended up having anxiety and panic attacks due to one of the tasks that we had to do. And it's a hard thing to deal with in like your personal private life, but knowing after the fact that happened that it was going to be on national television, it was kind of a tough pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, we had said from the jump when we started the show, like, let's be real, you know, mental health comes first. If there's something that is going to traumatize us for, you know, days, months, weeks, years later down the road, like we're not going to do it. We've got to put ourselves first. So that's what we did. It was just kind of one of those tough decisions to make, and it is what it is. But it opened the door for us again to just keep having those conversations, and it was nice to, you know, have like strangers reach out to me and be like, thank you for being so open. You know, I feel comfortable talking about it with my family now, or just being able to see someone of whatever you want to call it again, status, I can see that you deal with it too, you're just a person. So it was nice to have those kind of conversations with complete strangers.
Right, because I feel like in the moment when it's happening, you might think that people will have a negative things to say about it, but in reality they're really just relating to you and being like, thank you for opening up and sharing that with us.
Exactly. There was a few people who kind of brushed it off and whatnot, were like, oh, like that was an easy thing, you should have just sucked it up and gone back and done it, whatnot. But so many people were very just like, I've dealt with that before, or I didn't know what that was, or this, that, and the other kind of thing. So it's nice to realize, like, at the end of the day, we're all human. Like, we all have things that we got to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Question. I know this might be personal, or
dive in. Let's get the tears going. I gave you forewarning. I'm like, I may cry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But in the moment, like when that happened, what were you feeling? Like, what were you going through?
So just to give some context of like that specific incident, we were at a competition where we were doing paintball, but we actually weren't the ones shooting the paintballs. Like we were getting shot at. There was a task. We had to go find the clue and whatnot. All I remember is them putting on like the jumpsuit. You put on like the mask. Like obviously paintballs hurt. You want to be protected. Mm-hmm. So they're putting all that on. I remember one of the production assistant or something, like off camera, I remember them zipping me up, and I was like, I don't like this. I feel very like closed in with like the big mask and all that kind of stuff. And I remember just like looking at Mar, and like I could tell that it wasn't off. Like we had been vibing the whole show. We were like running the show. We were winning things. We were like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're taking the whole show. I kind of looked at her, and like you can just sense the energy. And I was like, something's wrong. So like into the episode, into the actual challenge itself, they only show so much on TV, but it was like, we went in, she had a little bit of a like breakdown, so we took a couple minutes. We were like, okay, like let's take a second, take the mask off, regroup, see if we can go in and do this again. And then we go back in, and then same thing happens to me. And just in that moment, like you panic. Like I actually rewatched the episode the other day, and I hadn't seen it since it aired because it was just like too emotional for me. But there's a point where I'm like freaking out, trying to get everything off. I'm like hitting the wall. Like you you black out essentially, because you go into fight or flight mode. Like you go into survival mode, and it's a really scary thing. I remember watching that episode back when it aired on TV, and I was like sad for myself. Because I was just like, I want to help you. Like I am you, but like I want to help you. Like let you know that like everything's gonna be okay, even though you're dealing with that in the moment. But it's hard, right? A lot of people who aren't vocal about it, or who completely closet it and deal with it on their own, they can't even help themselves because they don't know how, and they don't even know how to ask for help. So that's kind of my biggest thing, is just like asking for help, or talking to people about it or whatnot. Like just normalize it more, so that like if you are ever in that situation where you're, you know, hopefully not claustrophobic or in that moment, whatever, just knowing that like, okay, this isn't the end. Like I'll be okay. This isn't gonna last. Yeah, it's not gonna last forever. So think of it like a workout. Like you're doing something, you're like, this sucks. Like, I hate this. You're
Yeah.
complaining. That's
Yeah.
like, it won't last forever.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense.
I think one of the issues I will only speak for myself because I'm not sure about anyone else who has experienced it. But one of my issues was identifying the signs and not ignoring the signs. I was at a stage where I hit like rock bottom and I felt very depressed. And I never experienced anything like that. I'm usually the person who's happy-go-lucky. Like, I can give you advice. I can say, F that guy. Like, I can do all of that.
You're hyping up everyone else.
Yeah. And then when I experienced like my first like real like heartbreak where like, I couldn't say F that guy to myself to get myself up, that was like my first sign of like depression. And it wasn't just like the relationship. It was like me, myself, my body, life.
Yeah.
I was just depressed. I wasn't eating. I was losing mad weight. Like if you saw me back in like 2013, 2014, I was a toothpick.
And that's back in that time, right, where it wasn't talked about, it wasn't really normalized. Most people would have just been like, oh, she's going through a breakup. It's like, whatever, you'll get over the guy, it'll be fine. People in my life had done that too, where there was episodes of, I call them like depression episodes, where you're like, oh, like you just broke up with a guy or whatever. And it's like, but like that's obviously triggered something that's like deeper. So like you said, for you to experience that for the very first time, you're like, what is happening to me? Like, this isn't me. I'm that fun friend who like pumps everyone up. Let's get ready to go. And then you're like, I can't even do that to myself.
Yeah,
like
you can't.
Yeah,
and
it's a scary thing.
It's a very scary thing. So I think in terms of that, what were some ways that helped you identify the signs of like, listen, this is something that's not right. Like I feel like this isn't normal, especially with that episode. Like you said to yourself, like, no, this doesn't feel right. The vibe's right. Wasn't right. What was the signs for you?
Leading up to like that episode and being on the show, there was some like things that had happened in my personal life, obviously not on TV or not like made public or whatnot, but it was kind of those like, okay, it happened and then life would get better, and then something would happen and life would get better. So it was kind of that like repeat pattern almost of like, this isn't normal, like I need to do something about it. So it was like talking to other friends that maybe had gone through something or had been a little bit more vocal about it, or doing some type of research, or eventually talking to my doctor. And then at that point it was like, do we want to try medication? Like I was very resistant for a long time. I was like, no meds, I'm not doing anything. You know, I'm tough, I'll get through this, whatever, it'll be fine. And then sometimes you have to take a step back and be like, let me do what I need to do right now in this moment. So whether that is like cutting back your hours at work, taking medication, cutting off a toxic person, whatever that has, like everyone has to do what they need to do for them. That's something that I've learned. But yeah, kind of those signs leading up to certain things, it was just those were like those instances that happened, those were my signs that it was like, something's not right, like we need to get to the bottom of this. So it's a hard pill to swallow though when you actually get like diagnosed with something. You're just like, oh, like I'm not normal, but like what is normal anymore, right?
Exactly.
Like especially as we're all going through lockdown. Right. What are we on? 995? 999. During this whole pandemic, it's like the whole world is just getting rocked right now. But if somebody was to tell me that during this whole like lockdown and this crazy pandemic that they were fine, like had no issues, nothing, I'd be like, what is your secret? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're the different one. Yeah, because it's just like how are you keeping your cool and all of this?
That's the thing, is we all have mental health.
It's the same as your physical health. Right, exactly. Like, you have to take care of it. You can't go. You'll burn out. Right. You have to take care of yourself.
And as you were saying, like you were that person who's just like tough, like I'll stick it out. That's still me to this day. Like I deal with everything in my bedroom.
You put that face on, and it's just like, that was the hard thing too about being, you know, like you were the captain, so like you can't show.
No, maybe that's another thing too. Yeah,
you've been a dancer, you have people looking up to you. It's one of those things where you're like, I can't break. Like no one can see me like this.
Yeah,
I broke. I definitely broke down.
It's hard.
It was my last class. I think this episode is a few weeks ago, but it was my last Thursday class at one of my studios, and my students were just dancing, and I've been holding it, like, holding down the fort, telling them, you know, we got this, we're in this together. I'm motivating them. And I just sat there, saw them in their costumes, realized I couldn't close the year with them in person. And I'm seeing how great they're doing it, and they're just remembering Dan and the smiles on their faces. And I just broke down into tears. Like, I started crying, and I had to like put my hand in the camera. And
Don't see me.
I'm like, don't see me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, you guys, you just made my day, and it was just so hard, and like that was like when I realized like I wasn't gonna see them for like another few months. And I've been good up until then, and I just started bawling.
You realized that normalcy you had, like day to day, it was just gone. Like that's it. It's done.
I took advantage because I'm like I really thought I was gonna see them.
No, you did. I was like, girl,
you're not seeing them.
And I was like, no, man, we're going outside. And then I'm watching them, and I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna see them, and some of them are not coming for the recital in July, and I'm like, I'm not gonna see you guys till September. And I just broke down.
Another big thing for me with that whole online thing and these kids is like, we don't realize how much it's gonna affect them. In their future.
And if it affects me in the moment, I can only imagine. But it's just to see how strong they are. I'm crying and they're just smiling and telling me it's gonna be okay, and like
I love like their young innocence in that sense. They're like, it's so like they're comforting you, and in your head you're like, I can't hold this anymore.
One of my students is like, I'm gonna see you in July and I'm gonna bring you a present. It's okay. I'm like, oh, I was like, okay, go, because I'm gonna ball. I walked away from my computer and I was done. And I was like, I've never been in that moment, and I think that's how we all know that the person that is the person you lean on, that person needs a shoulder to lean on too.
Always.
And I realized that in that moment, I didn't have a shoulder to lean on, and that's when like I let it go.
That's why I always say is like being vocal. Like you don't have to go like get a billboard or like, you know, post it on your social media. You can be vocal just within your friend group and whatnot. But that's one thing I've learned is that, like you were saying, it's mental health. Like everyone has it in a variety of different degrees and whatnot, but having a person who may also go through it and understand it to exactly your degree. One of my girlfriends, she's like a little sister to me, and it's like she's my support, and I'm like, I feel like I need to be the big sister to you, but she's like, you know, it's give and take. We both have good days, bad days. Like, let me be the crutch for you because you've been the crutch for me.
Right.
And it's nice to know that like you have someone in your court at all times, whether it is a friend, a family member. Social media can be great and bad, but maybe it's like a random social media friend. I know sometimes like a lot of kids will make random social media friends on TikTok or whatever, but like maybe that's your person. So it's nice to know that like, okay, I have someone I can lean on. But when you're in that dark moment, sometimes you think it's just you. No one else. Like no one knows what I'm going through. I don't want to burden anyone else.
That's
nobody wants to hear my problems at 5 p.m. on Friday. Like they're trying to go live their life, you know. And it's like those are the times where you have to push your ego aside, because that's what I found it is like there's people that care for you. You can call them at 3 a.m. and like, you might be waking up or sleep, but like they would rather hear from you than not, and wake up to like some bad news or something. Always.
No, I feel like something about last year just unraveled everything. Like for me at least. And I was able to sit down and be like, okay, here we are. Nothing's going on outside. Deal with it right now. It's and like someone handed you a platter of things that you never wanted to deal with of your own shit. I don't know if I can swear, sorry. Like, you good.
But no, you know what I mean? Like someone literally took a silver platter and was like, here you go, tea. And you're like, what? Like, you're like, I can't go bury myself in work. I can't go party. I can't go out with my friends. I can't go to a restaurant. I can't travel. I can't do any of the things that maybe have been like a Band-Aid or a mask. You're like, I have to deal with this now. And it's hard. It takes a lot for someone to look themselves in the mirror and like realize who they are, what they're dealing with. Because like we're not all perfect. We can all paint ourselves up. We can all put smiles on. You know, social media. You can make your life look great, but like you gotta deal with the shit. You have to deal with the shit.
And that's the thing. When outside was open, it was like I was doing all of these things to sort of keep myself busy. And then I was kind of ignoring all of the things that I was dealing with. Inside. But you can try and like mask it with everything that's going on outside in the world and like keep yourself busy, but are you really healing yourself inside?
It's gonna chisel its way through.
Yeah,
No matter how much, you know, the wall you build up, like it's gonna keep creeping back and it's gonna break that foundation down until it's like, yo, I'm here, deal with me. Like, let's figure this out.
And that's literally what happened. It's like knock knock.
Yeah.
Like remember me.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Come help them
Yeah. Like you can't dig yourself into a wormhole anymore.
Right.
You can't be doing that.
Deal with the shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stigmas around mental health, especially in the Black community, the people of color, and I feel that it's almost as if like you admitting that you have mental health issues, you admitting that you have anxiety, you admitting that you have depression. It's almost as if it's like, what is that?
Yeah, it's like looked down upon.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, get up, like, brush it off. And I personally, like, I was that person at first. I used to tell myself, like, sis, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What is that? Like, we don't know who that is. Like, pray to God. Like, I'm a Christian, so, like, just pray and God will help you. But some sense is not to get into it, because I have my views, everybody has their views, but in my sense, it was almost as if, like, God was telling me, here are some tools, and a tool is a therapist.
Yeah.
So with the stigmas and the negativity that towards it, if someone were to say that I want to, but I don't want to because of what it makes me deem as an abnormal or I'm not a strong enough person
in society.
Yeah. What is something that you would tell them to be like, listen, that ain't it? Like,
my biggest thing in kind of that sense is just like, I don't want to get like too deep or anything, but it's like, would you rather
get deep.
But would you rather, you know, live up to society standards and struggle and, you know, have demons inside of you or whatever you want to call them, but just like not be who you're meant to be because of what someone else may say? Or would you rather, you know, take a step back, deal with what it is, to then take a giant leap forward? Because it's like, it's one of those things, if you don't deal with it, like you're just going to stay stuck and it's going to keep regressing you.
Stagnant.
And you have to remember at the end of the day, it's like, it's your life. Like people can say all they want about it, but like they don't live in your shoes. So if you aren't fulfilling what you need to do for you and you're just listening to them, it's like, well, you're not living for them. It's like, well, what's the point? You're trying to be this strong, independent person, and you have this person talking down to you, whatever, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's true. Like maybe I'll believe what they say. Like, you gotta stay strong, you gotta stay tough, all this, that, and the other, whatever. And it's just, you have to do what you have to do for you. So whether you want to do that completely in private, you know, go see a therapist. On medication, you're doing A, B, C, D, whatever it is. You can talk to people about it, or you can do it completely in private. Like when I started therapy, I didn't talk to people about it much.
I know everyone.
You know, like even when I was on my meds, like there was like a handful of people that like knew I was on them, especially because like when you start taking them, you can't drink, this, that, whatever. And I was like out partying all the time because that was my coping mechanism, which is like be surrounded by people at all times. That was my thing. Stay busy. Like work 4 jobs.
That
be social. Surround yourself. Surround yourself with people so you don't have to deal with it. And then it's one of those things where it's like, now you have to deal with it. Like you can't hide anymore. But I'm so happy you brought up that topic though, especially surrounding the Black community. On my way here, I was telling one of my friends like what I was going to do and whatnot. And he's like, I'm very happy that it's becoming a more acceptable conversation. He's like, I had a couple of Black friends who unfortunately never talked about it and took their own life. And he was telling me that, and I was like, oh, I'm getting like it hurts to hear, because again, they had to put on that strong face. You know, I've already dealt with so many things. But you know, like I can't relate. Obviously, but like what the Black community has to go through, it's like you can't not be strong. You have to be strong, and like that's just been thrown on the Black community so much. I'm gonna start crying to stop, but it's not fair. Like, it's not fair. Like at the end of the day, we're all human, no matter skin, hair, gender, whatever it is. Like we're all human at the end of the day. Like we all feel, humans want to feel needed, loved, cared for, heard, all those things. So especially for the Black community who already feels like they don't get any of that, to then be like, oh, and I'm also not strong. It's like, then you're literally just getting stepped on. Like you're literally getting trampled at that point. And like, that breaks my absolute heart. And that's why I'm so happy that the conversations are happening and they're open more and it's more socially acceptable. There's always going to be people that are resistant to it. Those are the people, in my opinion, that need the therapy the most. But it's just like, don't judge someone else because you don't know what they're going through behind closed doors. We all put up these walls. We all, there's people who work 6 jobs. They've got, they're living in other cars. There's so many situations that like you just don't know about. So it's like, don't judge someone. If they decided to go to therapy, that's their decision. They didn't drag you with them. They didn't say you have to come too.
Right.
Facts.
That's just what they're doing for them.
Facts.
If your therapy is like, doing marathons, it's like, I'm not coming with you. I'm not about to run a marathon, but if it works for you, go for it. Therapy works for me.
Oh, that's so true. Do what you have to do for you. And not anybody else.
No, ever. Like, not your family, your friends, your significant other, nothing. Like, do what you have to do for you because it's your life. Like, you live in that body. You live with that mind.
You know what you need.
Yes. Yeah. Like you were saying, though, with, like, your toolkit, like, God's telling you, like, this is a tool for you to use. That's one of the things I've learned in therapy is, like, get as many tools as you can in your toolkit, whether it's, like, breathing techniques, it's therapy, it's, like, you go to the gym, maybe you learn to cut, like, whatever it is that helps you, like, find those things that you like to do. Best thing that you can do for yourself.
No, I agree. What is one thing that you would kind of, like, what's one thing that you do to cope? Like, what's your go-to?
For me, it was a hot mess when I was like, once you're like diagnosed and then it's like, okay, but where do I go from here? And it's, can I afford therapy? Can I get into a therapist? It's like a 3 to 6 month wait, like all of these things. And it's actually not that readily available. Like it took a lot of digging, a lot of like asking other friends who have gone down the avenues. So many things, like you have to try and find it all yourself. It's you can just Google and like here it is. Like you have to find what works for you because you could go to a therapist and it could not work for you as well. But within, speaking of the pandemic year, yoga had become a huge thing for me. I've never been one to read, never been one to journal, meditation, no chance. But I was like, let me just start with yoga. It's movement. I like it. It's simple. It's easy. I'm not dancing. I'm not lifting weights, whatever. It's just like a nice flow. So I started doing programs with a friend of mine. You remember Jessie Ellen from Argos? Yeah. So she became a yoga teacher. So I started doing programs. She would put these like 6-week programs on. And meditation and journaling became like a mandatory part of it. So it like forced me to do it. And it was breaking through that, like, I guess, expectation of what I thought that it was. Like meditation was sit, just zen. And it's like, no, like if that's meditation for you, great. But she was like, that's not what it is. So it was getting through those barriers of things I guess I was resistant to doing. Those helped me a lot, especially during the pandemic and all of these lockdowns. It's like you can't go to the gym, like we were saying. Can't go see your friends, you can't take any dance classes, you can't take yoga classes, like all of the things that we would probably use to cope. It's like, how do I do this in my home? Like in my bedroom, I'm stuck in my condo, I'm stuck in my house. Like how do I do the things that I need to do? So that's just what worked for me. I unfortunately was sick over the last couple weeks and wasn't able to do any of that, and it hit me hard. And I started going to what we were saying before is one of those like depressive episodes, depression episodes. I was like, I can't even do yoga anymore. All of my coping techniques that I was like using, and I was like good to go and whatever. I felt like I had the whole pandemic like on lock. I was like, I got this. Like I'm not worried. Don't worry. And then I was sick and I couldn't do any of it. And then you're sitting at home like, okay, great. Like
can't move.
And you start to like dig that hole again. And you gotta get yourself out of it. So I'm very happy that to be here.
No, I got you.
This brightened my spirits. Like when you messaged me, I was like, yes.
That's what I said, and I was like, I feel like it would be such a good thing to have you on because I know you have so much knowledge, and I just feel like I put you on a pedestal.
Stop it!
No, I really do. I'm like, this girl
I put
is
you on a pedestal.
You're just so like, I don't know, you're just so cool, and you're not afraid to use your voice and speak up and be out there, and especially with the Black community. Like you really stand for it, and I'm like, this girl she's legit.
You have to, honestly, you have to though. And I appreciate that. And thank you so much. But it's like everything going on in this world, it's just like what is going on in this world? Like that's, you open social media, you look at the news and you're like, oh my God, another day, another something is happening. And it's like, you have, like I said, we're all at the end of the day, no matter race, gender, skin color, like we're all human. We have to support each other. Like in my brain, the way that I my brain works, the way I was raised and whatnot. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything going on, like, I don't understand it. And, like, when you see someone who, you know, be a racist, or they're against this, or they're against it, or whatever, like, my brain just doesn't comprehend it. So I'm just like, I have to be there to support everyone, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
You're almost a part of the fight as well when you look at it in that perspective, because
I don't understand how someone can't be. Like, I don't get it.
it's not the next episode.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about yourself.
On.
It's hard, and I think to know that there's people like you in the world, it's what kind of makes me stay okay. Like, I know I'm not crazy, because sometimes I don't want it to seem like I need pity because I'm Black, or because, you know, I'm screaming Black Lives Matter because I think that we're the only race in the world that matters. That's not the case at all. And it's like, you know, you're happy for when things happen. I was happy for the anti-Asian hate crimes being solidified and stamped, and, like, you know, it's great, and it's nowhere shape of me feels like a jealousy, but then I'm also like, damn, like, the Black people have been dying.
You're like, where's our justice too?
We have years of slavery, years of murders, years of police brutality, years of unanswered questions. It's been a year since George Floyd was murdered, and it's like, you see that happen, and it's like, you know, it's a step, but then also it's like, okay, the fight that we're still fighting that's not being acknowledged, like, when is that going to be solidified? When is that going to be acknowledged? And, like, why is that so much of, like, an unfazed, it's an unfazed matter for people.
That's what hurts me so much too, especially in the Black community. It's like, okay, there was justice served for that one specific thing, but then what was it, like, the next day?
Yeah,
something like, it's just like
16-year-old girl.
It
got shot.
Because you're like, so we didn't even get justice. Like, that justice is just thrown out the window at that point. We're starting almost every morning. You wake up and you're starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
Like, it almost is like, it doesn't matter what protests there are, what's happening, who says what. It's almost like every morning you wake up and, like, oh, Groundhog Day.
It's another thing.
Groundhog Day. That is
we're
literally the
starting over.
perfect
And, like,
explanation.
that's what breaks my heart so much for the Black community. It's like, it's not only you fighting, there's so many others that are standing with you now too, but even at that point, people are just like, it just gets brushed to the side, and it's a piss off. Like, it infuriates me. I get, like, heated talking about things like this.
Yeah.
Oh, but I feel like I need to be an ally in any way that I can, and, like, learn from my sisters and whatnot, because that's the thing, is, like, I don't look at anyone in a different aspect. It's just like, I have so much love for anyone that's in my life. Like, if you're in my life, I love you. I have love for you. I will always say that. It's like, if I don't feel that for you, it's like, maybe we haven't connected, and, like, I won't keep you in my circle. Like, I just don't see a need for it. But anyone that's like, I fully have love. I just, like I said, it doesn't make sense in my brain how people act that way, and to this day are still ignorant and, you know, brushing it under the rug. Oh, it never happened. Like you said, hundreds of years. Like, it's
It's a shiver.
It is. It honestly is. But like you said, that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what is something that you would tell your younger self?
My younger self was I wouldn't say insecure, but she was very shy, very unsure. I never grew up playing any type of sports. I was never on a team. I was very just like an independent tomboy, play in the mud kind of thing. Argos for me was like that huge like sisterhood team aspect, whatever. So I think my biggest thing for myself would just be like, put yourself out there more. Because I hesitated so many times on doing anything. But like I always say, like I wouldn't be in this chair where I am today, specifically for this, like without having done that. I wouldn't have been on the Amazing Race. I wouldn't have had the job I have now. I wouldn't have had the opportunities, the doors open, whatnot, had I not just like given myself that push. So if I could talk to my like 10, 12, 14-year-old self, would be like, just do it. Like, just go for it. But also, like, deal with the things that you're unsure of. Like, ask questions. At 14, you don't know what's happening. Until someone, like, if you're like, oh, I'm really sad all the time. Like we were saying before, with, like, the breakup. Somebody would be like, oh, you know, you just, had a bad test or didn't get enough sleep or a breakup or you didn't make the team or whatever. Like I find there's always an excuse for mental health.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, no, maybe it is actually this one thing. Like maybe this child or this person does have anxiety or they do have depression or anything under the sun. So it would just be to like ask more questions and be a little more assertive in that sense of being like, something's not wrong. Someone help me. Like someone help me figure this out because I don't want to struggle on my own.
No, that's amazing.
I think piggyback into like what you had said earlier, just based off of, you know, finding your signs and just knowing when you decided to say, okay, hey, like I need help and I need to seek some form of therapy, some form of answer, I would say first before we got to therapy. How do you feel about people who think that your therapist needs a therapist?
I am the person who will say everyone on this planet needs a therapist because there's so many things that you're dealing with, and we go to our parents, our friends, whatnot. They're all biased in a sense. If you need to go to someone who like doesn't know you, whether you're having huge like life-changing issues or you just need someone to talk to. Like I have a handful of friends who they're like, I'll go once a month just to like word vomit essentially everything I'm feeling. And they're like, I leave and I'm like, all right, done. Like
Feel good.
dealt with it. We talked about it with like an unbiased opinion. Like I'm just the person that thinks everyone on this planet should see a therapist at least once in their life.
It's go to therapy still?
Not currently, but I'm going to be starting up again just because of the like system that I was in. You kind of have to go through it, you have some sessions and whatnot, and then you have to kind of like restart the process again. It's just what worked kind of for me within my budget, within my schedule, because like I was saying, it's hard to find time with a therapist. Therapy is expensive.
Really digs out your pocket, man.
Ooh,
boy.
But the best thing you can do is invest in yourself. So you have to look at it like, okay, let's say this therapy session is $200. Do I spend that on a 1-hour session to better me in the long run, or do I like go buy a new pair of shoes? Obviously, most of us are like retail therapy. But you think about it, you get like hyped for a hot second. You take the shoes home, you take a picture, like they're cute and all.
And then you're back to where you were.
Yeah, and then you're like in your bed crying, eating ice cream, like whatever.
Same
like,
day.
Yes, within minutes.
Yeah.
Like you post the picture and you're like, oh, the likes are coming. Like, you're like eating ice cream in bed. Like it's one, So I fully believe, I say to everyone, I'm like, I would never push it down someone's throat, but I'm like, therapy for everyone. Like I want to be Oprah. Like you get therapy, and you get therapy, you get therapy.
That's facts.
Yeah,
that's super facts.
Yeah,
because I wasn't someone who identified or acknowledged my demons. I had a lot of demons, and I was just doing a lot of unnecessary things, like just for no reason.
Yeah.
Messing up friendships, messing up my relationship with my family. My relationship with my mom was like non-existent. My mom didn't trust me like at all. She could no, she didn't trust me, and it was hard for me. And it was almost as like I used to do things with good intent, but then the outcome was bad. And I didn't intentionally mean to do that. I just didn't know how to control myself. And I think I went through a phase, just like you were saying. I was working 5 dance jobs part-time, and I had a full-time job.
You're sleeping like maybe 3 hours a night.
And I was up late at night cutting music, doing this, doing that, going out, being with my friends, being there for my friend, being there for her and the situation she dealt with, and being there for everybody else. And I was just running down thin. And mind you, I just came back from identifying the depression and anxiety for myself, dealing with that breakup and taking that toxic person out of my life and removing the toxic person in me. I did that temporarily by just putting a Band-Aid on it, but not actually talking to someone about it. And then I jump in and being there for everybody else. And I just had a breaking point and I didn't know what to do. I took a weekend, wasn't on my phone. I went and I spoke to somebody and I said, I need to talk to someone because I feel like if I don't go and talk to someone, I'm going to do something I'm going to regret. And I cried so hard to like, it hurt to cry.
Yes.
Like that's how bad it was.
You have physical body pain.
I was crying and I was begging and pleading and it hurt. And then I said, no, like I need to go get help. And that was back in 2018, December. And I started therapy December 22nd, just a few days before Christmas.
So it's a tough time, right?
Yeah.
It's Christmas, like, it's the holidays. I gotta be
gotta be up and happy. I wasn't.
A game face
I
on,
was. I was not. I was a hot mess. I didn't tell nobody. I didn't tell anyone that I was gonna go to therapy. I didn't say it because, again, the stigma in the Black community. It was almost as if like that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
like, you know, like what do you
they're
mean?
like, what is that?
I don't even believe you did this. I don't even really believe. And like to hear those words being said to me, and I knew where I was in that state of mind. I was like, I have to make the tough decisions to say, like, as much as I don't want this to end, I have to end this because this is triggering this, and I've never felt this way. And if I continue down this path, I'm going to do something even more stupid than what I've already done.
That's the scary thing, right? Is it's a continuous cycle until something like pretty much punches you.
Like, and then you're like, realize, and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Lost friends.
Yeah.
Borderline almost lost my relationship. My mom was out the window. Like everything was just like care.
You just don't care at that point.
No.
You're just you don't care.
And
it's a
I
scary cycle.
I made that decision, and I went and I said, okay, I'm going to go to see a therapist. And it was so weird because one of my things was like, I'm like, yo, like black people have different problems, and like sometimes you want to see more Black therapists because you'll understand when I say I'm afraid to go outside or somebody looks
there
at me.
needs to be that representation though, right? Because it's like you're saying, when you're gonna show up and there's a white male sitting there.
And you don't understand.
He knows nothing.
They know nothing. So I was scared, and that's why I believe in signs, because when I tell you I walked in the room and, you know, my therapist's name is Nancy. I'm like, oh, okay, it looks like you're going to be a white woman.
Little lady Nancy.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, Shannon, just do this for an hour and go home, and, like, we'll figure out something else. And then we walked in the middle of the Black woman. I was like, yo, it was like the horn, the light was like everything aligned. And I was like, yes.
It's so nice to see that representation, but it's also nice because you might not, but you almost end up making that connection as if it's a family member, but it's nice because it's not, because they have no judgment.
They have zero judgment. You
can obviously always go, everyone has their own situations, but like go to your mom, go to your aunt, go to a sister, whoever, like you can go to someone, they're gonna have a biased opinion on something because they know you. They're gonna be like, we'll do this and da-da-da and da-da-da and just like get through it, or like don't talk to that person, and it's like maybe it's easier said than done. Yeah. I need someone who has no idea who these people are I'm talking about, and from a professional standpoint too, because you're not just talking to someone to talk to them. Mm-hmm. They're obviously trained medical professionals, so they know what they're doing. But I think that's huge that you went, and especially at that time of year too, right? Like Christmas hits, it's the last thing you want to do.
Well, I didn't want to do it, but I mean, I was there, and I'm glad to say that I've still like stuck it out. Obviously the
pretty tight. Can you make this cheaper, please?
Right? And I don't do it as often. Like I was seeing her like twice a month, and now I check in with her once a month. And with the pandemic, and I've just been able to do other tools like meditating, writing down words of affirmation every morning, praising, worshiping, doing all these things.
Getting it out of your system.
Getting it out and like just starting my day. Yeah. I'm now said to her, she actually suggested it to me that, hey, maybe we can do like once every other month. I feel like you're on a good path. Yeah. And if you do need, know that I'm here, but I think I can see you. So I'm a little scared, but like
that's such a nice thing to hear though, because like you may not have that confidence in yourself, but they see it. They're like, from the day you came in here, probably like snot running, crying, you can't even speak, and they're like, I don't need to see you every month. Yeah. You might not be ready to cut that tie, but like they're the professional, they know. And like she said, if you're not ready, like let's try it. If you're not, I'm here. Yeah. Like don't feel like you're gone, see you, bye, I can never talk to you again. And it's hard to find that person that you actually connect with. I have friends who've seen like 15, 20 therapists. And it's not easy. You're like, all right, let's start the story again from point one. It's like you almost want to hand them a recording and be like, okay,
here, read this and let me know what you think.
I just cut my mix, you want to listen, and they call me like
new mixtape just dropped.
Honestly. With the fire photo album.
Not this, but
But you don't want to explain it to like 15 people. Finding that person, it's hard. It's not an easy journey, but like don't give up on yourself. And that's a huge thing. But I agree with what you're saying. Representation is massive.
That's for you.
Don't give up on yourself.
No, the thing is that I've never gone to therapy, but I would love to. I think it was just the time when everything was like surfacing. We were locked down.
Yeah. But I like, where do I start?
Yeah. So that's what I would want to like. Where do you start?
That's like, it's such a hard thing. A friend of mine even reached out after I had gone through like a full round of therapy, and they were like, I'm dealing with things, like, you've been vocal about it before, like, where do I start? And I'm like, here's the resources I have for like our community, because that's the thing too, right? It's not just a Canadian thing. It's not just an Ontario thing. It's like by your region as well. Depending on how far you want to travel, how much you want to pay, what your availability is. There's so many kind of little things like that too. So it's just it's doing the work. When you're in that poor mind state, that's the last thing you want to be. You want someone to just open the book and be like,
give it to you.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's your solution.
Yeah.
So finding that support system of somebody who can kind of help navigate that for you, I think, is huge as well, because like that's when you need it the most. Like when you're in that negative mindset,
you need that.
You need those tools, but like that's the last thing you want to do. Like, I don't want to spend all day like researching where do I go, how do I start, those kind of things. But yeah, definitely just reaching out to like other. But that's why I like being so vocal about it too, right? Because like, there's some people who it's not acceptable in their culture. Their family just doesn't believe it. Like there's so many things. So it's like I'm here, I deal with it, I make it very known. Come to me and I will help guide you in the best way I can. I'm obviously by no means a medical professional, but it's just like from my experience, I have all the space in the world to help someone else who's like ready to open up on that journey too. Because it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy at all.
Just telling yourself that like, hey, like I can talk to someone is where you have that moment. And then everybody experiences something different. But I think that when you say to yourself, like, I need help, that is like, you already started.
Right.
You already started on that path. You didn't even talk to anybody, but the fact that you can say, I need someone to talk to.
You acknowledge
it. That's the first step.
Yeah.
And then looking for your resources and finding someone to have that conversation with, because you will discover so many things in therapy. I thought it was something different from what is the reason why I had demons.
You think it's A and B, and
yes,
she's like, it's
down to when I was 4 years old.
Yes.
And there's a memory of mine when I was 4 that I'll never forget. And it's like, there's one thing that you won't forget that is what brought that. That's where
they're
the root
on
of it.
opposite ends of the scale, but you're like, how? Like,
I'm like, how? And I didn't realize. And, you know, my therapist was like, why do you think you can remember something when you were 4 years old? There's just something that will pull you there, and then that's where, like, everything will start to unpack. And you're like, shit, I didn't even realize that.
That's another hard one, too, when it comes to, like, childhood things, especially if you have, like, nowadays or whatnot, a good relationship with your family or a parent or whatnot. You almost don't want to go back and like open Pandora's box and then be like, oh, I'm scary, because you're like, oh, like this happened to me as a child or whatnot, and like you
almost feel guilty.
Yes. You don't want to like go to your parent and be like, this is how I'm feeling at a time when like you were my caregiver and I was in no control of myself. You don't want to put the blame back on them, but you're like, it has to be dealt with. You're like, I'm not trying to say, like I'm not trying to like say you're a bad parent or this, that, or whatever. But it's like you have to deal with it.
Yes.
You have to live your life. Like, you have to clear it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be inside of you.
That's what helped me and my mom get closer.
Inner child work is
I told you.
Cry your eyes up.
Yeah.
I honestly think crying is like one of the best things.
That's what I was gonna say.
Such an energy release. Yeah. It's almost like you just like
baby.
You've like taken a shower and you're like cleansed. Like one of my girlfriends like just let it out, cry like all the time. When people are like, I never cry, I'm like,
I cry in the shower.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll cry while I'm praying and I start crying. It's so funny.
You pray in the shower?
Yeah.
That's like the time. I feel like the
that's
shower is
your
the
zone.
time when like all of my thoughts are like I'm talking a lot. I'm like, whoa.
You're either having like a full-on concert, like your Beyonce, like,
or you're praying.
Yeah, you're hitting those.
Both.
Yeah, you're hitting those Mariah Carey high notes, or you're like literally praying. Yes.
Yeah. That's 100% me.
Yeah.
I sometimes like I'll pick my boyfriend while showering and I'm like, am I loud?
Can you hear me crying?
Can you hear me? Yeah. I just get so passionate with it, and then like I'll start crying, and like it's like it's not like sad tears. It's just like joyful.
No, it's
tears.
just your body releasing and energy.
And I'm like in the bathroom. Oh my god, you can hear me. And then like in the senses of like he knows. My dad. Yeah. So then I'm like. But no, you have those moments. The shower is where I release them.
That's meditation for me. When I'm doing those programs, it's like the meditation. They typically it's like either yoga and meditation or meditation and yoga, whatever. But I'll like get up in the mat and there's just like tear marks like on the sides of my head, and I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, gotta let it out.
Yeah, you have to. If you don't, like it just
Swallow it up.
like that's what makes people so angry. Just let it out, be a nice person.
Yeah, yeah. Half the time, that's what it is that they're so angry because it's all bottled up inside. Yeah.
Look at certain like athletes and whatnot, people who like don't deal with their stuff and they end up doing wild things. Like I love the fact that like DeMar DeRozan like came out, he was so vocal about it, and like it's becoming more normalized in the professional sports world and just like in life in general.
Yeah.
But that's such an industry where people just they don't have it. You're put on a pedestal and you're perfect. You're given all this money in the world. What could be wrong with you? And it's like they're humans at the end of the day. Like if this man's got or this woman or whoever's got something going on, let them talk about it. Let them deal with it. Don't just be like, oh, you have
there needs to be more support. Yeah, and love. Like it's just something that needs to be normal. Like when someone asks like, how are you? Like,
yeah, we don't have to say.
You don't need to say like I'm fine. Like someone like really wants to like, how are you? How is your mental health? Like how are you in this moment? Like that is what's important. And I think once it becomes so loud that it almost makes you feel that much more comfortable to say certain things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have this conversation, whether it's on my platform or it's on somebody else. I wouldn't have this conversation 3 years ago.
No.
I would have been like,
That's
no,
the
okay.
thing. Yeah.
Like I'm embarrassed. I don't want no one to know. But now it's like I've already put so much out there, so why can't I have this conversation about this? And I just think the more we show love and like say like, yo, I love you. Like you know, like it needs to be more said, like brotherly love, like especially within like men. Say I love you to your friend.
Like hug your friend, let them know like I love you. I'm here. Like you're not just my friend, you're my family.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got you every day,
every single day. 100%. I got your back.
At 3 a.m. at 3 p.m. Whatever.
All the
I've
time.
got you.
Just say you love your friends, because at the end of the day, there's so much things that have happened where you don't know. Like so many rappers have passed away. DMX just passed away, and like nobody saw that. 50 years young, he was battling demons, and there's so many people that say that like I wish I could have told him that I loved him more. And then like the person who was pushing and advocating for him is his friend, somebody that was with him every step of the way. This was pieces out here saying like he wanted me to do this, and then even him, he said, I have my moments where I gotta go in the bathroom and I gotta cry and I gotta put on a face and then come back out. Yeah. So it's like just identifying that and being there for your loved ones and not being judgmental. I think that needs to be more of a broad, especially with Black men, having those conversations with each other.
One of my now friends, but we met on the show, Kwame, he is such a vocal person in, especially in the Black community, but especially for younger generations, that he just has so much love for everyone, and it reminded me, he posted something, it was like, give people flowers while they can still receive them. Like, give them their flowers
while they can still
take them from you. Like, don't wait until you're at their gravesite giving them flowers. Yeah.
Wow.
It's one of those things. I saw something on Instagram as well, and it was just one of those things where it's like, tell your friends you love them, and like, say it enough that it like makes them uncomfortable. Like, just tell them how much you love them until it becomes normal.
Yeah.
Like people need to be more accepting. I think that's something too, is like a lot of people aren't accepting of love.
Yeah.
Outside of like a family atmosphere too, right? A lot of people are like weird with their friends, or like just tell people you love them. Like that's all people want to hear. They want to feel heard, seen, loved.
It's the words of affirmation.
Yes.
That's a part of the 5 love languages.
Yes.
Yeah. Like just say it. Like I'm that person. I want to hear it. Like
I tell my friends all the time. They're like, okay, we get it.
I
love
you
so much, so much.
like I'll
guy
leave,
friends, girlfriends.
right? I'm like, love you, bye.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
Yes.
And I don't even hear you say I love you too. I'm like, all right, love you, bye. Like, I need you to know that I value you and I love you.
Yes.
Like that's how I am more so with my friends now. Like the group of people I have around me now, I tell them. I don't talk to them every single day, but I will tell them, yo, I love you. Like I check in, I make sure you're good. We make sure we're both good. Everyone's good.
I find a lot of the time people that are very disconnected from that are people that have like massive friend groups, aka just a handful of acquaintances. Yeah. Because they don't ever build that real connection with anyone, so they're just like they're weirded out by that. When you have that tight knit, whether it's like you and one other friend, you and 5 friends, or 10 of you, whatever it is, you say that and you know, like we were saying, you call it 3 a.m., you call it 3 p.m. Like I've got you. Yeah, I'm there for you, 100%. So many people just think they're on their own all the time. Yeah. Especially I want to say men too. They just feel like
They can't. Like, they
that
can't go
face
to
on.
their friends. They can't. It's funny that I'm hoping I can have this conversation with two of my male friends. But it's funny because one of them experienced something tragic in their life, and they went to their friends and were like, "Yo, I think I need to speak with someone. I think I need therapy." And they were just like, "Why? Why don't you go sit down and talk to somebody and go give them money? All of this is this." It was just very negative and very negative.
It's that whole like stiffen up that upper lip,
Yeah.
like you're good, you've been through everything. It's just like
Men don't cry.
Men can't cry.
Meanwhile, this is the thing that's like breaking their heart in half.
That don't be a bitch is so normal, and I'm just like, let him cry. Let him do what he has to do. You want to go talk to somebody? I encourage it.
Yes.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That is something that I'm just hoping that it can be more like put on the table and more of a conversation and normalized, because we are all humans at the end of the day, whether you have dick and balls or not.
Yep.
You're a human being. You have emotions. If you need to cry, if you went through something and you say, "Yo, I need to go talk to a therapist," why am I gonna look back at you and say, "For what?" or "No"? Or you have friends. This is the reason why I don't go and talk to you, because look at your response to this.
Yes.
I tell you I have a problem, and your response is, suck it up.
Yeah.
You're just gonna go give them money, blah blah blah. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, no, I'm about to go invest in myself. Thank you very much, so I can be a better person.
So I can be a better human being.
And that goes back to what you were saying. Like, just do what you have to do for you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And back to the words of affirmation, I feel like even a simple "I love you" or "Hey, how are you doing?" You don't know what that can do for someone's life. It could change.
But it's like, how are you really doing? That's one of those things I've seen. I don't know if you follow on Instagram, but it's called "We're Not Really Strangers." I want that game so bad, because every time I see the cards from it, I'm like, ooh, they get deep. But it's one of those things. It's not just like, how are you? It's like, especially during a pandemic, like, how are you really? Like, I'm here to hold the space and be open for you. Like, want to come cry? I'm here. If you're good, you're good. Cool. But like, tell me how you really are. Like, if life sucks for you, like, tell me that. Don't just be like, I'm good. Like, I used to work at the bank, and that was just, hey, I can help you. Hey, how are you? 9 out of 10, it's, oh, I'm good. And then you get that one person that's actually honest, and you're like, whoa. I was never expecting that. When they would just dump everything out, I was like, oh, I was just expecting you to be like, I'm good, do your banking and leave. But it's like, it's nice when people are just open and vulnerable. I love being vulnerable. It's like one of my favorite things.
It's crazy because people can just put this mask on. Like, I'm not gonna put this lady's business out there, but every day at work, she's either crying or something's happening. But every time someone asks you, "Hi, how are you doing?" It's, "I'm good. I'm great. How are you?" And I'm like, you just were like bawling your eyes out in front of me, and then you just say you're good.
Yeah.
Those I find are a huge issue, because obviously you're not gonna, like, in a business professional setting, the customer, you're not gonna be like, oh my god, this, that, you're not gonna go on. But it's like, if you were just crying and you go, "Hi, how can I help you?" That is such, to me, I'm like, okay, you need to like close the book, hang up the phone, like, you need to go deal with what you're dealing with. Don't be like, "Hi." What, like, how do you put that mask on? That is gonna eat away at you.
It's just like a temporary fix.
Yes.
It's a temporary band-aid.
Yeah, it's the same, like you're saying. You work all these jobs, you're out and about, you're not dealing with it. It's the same thing. Just put a little band-aid on it and then cover it up. Yeah, we'll deal with it next time it pops up.
Eventually, you just box me right into yourself. Like, crazy. You're not gonna warn it? No, okay, no problem.
Mike Tyson just popped out of nowhere on
so knocked me right off my feet, and I was like, "What the frig is this?" It was just so much.
No, ma'am.
But back so I thought I had that shit under control, baby. I was like, "What do you mean I'm out here? I got this." Yo, I couldn't even. I was so startled. It was almost as if I got knocked out of myself. And then myself saw me and was like, "Bitch, if you don't go see a therapist,"
like standing over yourself.
It was one of those. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to somebody. That was probably like the best decision I've ever made in my life. Like 100% the best decision I've ever made in my life. That's why I say, like, hey, whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe, therapy is a great tool. And if you want to go see a therapist, go see a therapist. I will definitely be putting the link in the description box that I use that help with therapy. Even the meditation that I like to listen to on YouTube. It's on YouTube. I play it for 25 minutes and I listen to it. And just even Black therapists. I want to push that more out there, because I know sometimes it's hard to explain to somebody that who isn't Black or who isn't really an ally, who really doesn't understand, it's good to have a Black therapist. And I feel like there needs to be more on the upfront and just out there so that we can feel more comfortable to go speak to someone.
Mm-hmm. I like though that you said of like putting that, like giving that access to people, because there are tools out there that are free. Like we've been talking about therapy, and it's expensive and this, that. There are things to do, right? Like you said, YouTube, it's a free service. Go on, find a meditation. There's breath work. There are a lot of things that don't require any type of money. It's just you actually wanting change and implementing it.
Absolutely.
That's what I was saying before with the whole meditation, journaling. Those are things that I was like, nope, not going to do it. And finally, when I did it, I was like,
it feels so good.
Yeah. Like it's that weight off of you.
Lifted off of you.
It's a huge thing. Yeah.
Now, one more question. What goals do you have for yourself? Maybe that's not the last question.
Everything under the sun. No, for me, it's just continuing. Like I said, I love being vulnerable. I love holding that space for people to have those conversations, whether it's with me or with someone else, or we're not just knowing that they can kind of, maybe I can be their like first stepping stool or whatnot. So continuing to be vulnerable, have those conversations with people, and just like keep doing the work, because like I'm not perfect. I didn't go to therapy once and I'm fine now. It's, take a giant step forward and like a little step back, and then you take like 2 steps forward and like 3 back. Like it's a battle. It's a continuous game. So it's just like reminding myself of like I can spit all this out, but like actually continuing to implement it.
Keep climbing.
Mm-hmm. So I want to keep the conversation going. Not just for myself, not just for my friends, for strangers, for anyone, for people of color, not of color, like everyone. It's so important for everyone, especially with what we're going through right now. You got to deal with the things, because life's very short. I don't think people actually understand that. Like, you're lucky if you make it to 100. Yeah, you're very lucky. Like, we could not wake up tomorrow. Like, people, tomorrow's not guaranteed. I don't think people realize, how true that is. So, deal with the things that you can in the moment, so that you can live out those years that we're very lucky to have. Because I don't think people actually realize how important that is. Yeah, like life, it truly is a gift.
Yeah, treat your life very precious.
Yeah, like kick the ego. Don't be so entitled. Deal with what you gotta deal with. Enjoy
so many gems in you. Yo, when I'm editing this shit, bro,
write it down.
I'm gonna just be like, the captions. Let me tell you something.
The title.
Did I know the title? I don't know. You said something earlier that I know that when I listen to this back, that shit is going right in the title.
I love it.
In capital letters. Yeah. No, you're great. Thank you for sharing all that you shared today. I know a lot of people will take a lot from this. So I just want to give you your flowers, basically. And just tell you how amazing I think you are, and everything that you're doing. Just keep going, keep pushing, because there's amazing things meant for them.
Yeah, that means the world to me. I mean, as much as, like I said, I have to practice what I preach too. I can try and put on that strong face, but sometimes I'm only human. I doubt myself. I'm like, how did I do that? Why would I try that? Why would that? So it's nice again to like have those positive affirmations from people in my life that I love, that I respect as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Where can the people find you, follow you, like you?
You can follow
me.
At Leanne Nicole. That's on Instagram. You want to follow at Young and Aged as well. You can find me there too.
I know, that's fire.
I got you. I was looking at that, I was like, wow.
Isn't the logo so cool?
Yeah, like a little 5'8".
I got you.
Yeah.
That's our huge actually thing too with Young and Aged. We want to be able to give back to not only youth, but anyone within the sports community who may be under-resourced, underfunded. Worldwide is kind of the goal, the long-term goal. So just to be able to, especially within like the mental health, within sports, I don't know. I know for you guys with going with the dance, that's a huge part of who you are, that community. That's what I found when I eventually broke through that shy kind of barrier as well. So that's what we ultimately want to do with to is provide that kind of platform or resources or what have you. Just continue breaking stigmas across the board, not just with mental health too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Unreal. Wow.
Thank you so much for coming again. We appreciate you.
Thank you both.
And we appreciate our audience on YouTube.
Yes, and our listeners.
What are we doing, T?
Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that little bell button right down below. Yes.
And follow us on TikTok, on Instagram. You'll see all the information there. And you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, Spotify.
Follow us on the Spotify. You know what I'm saying? We outside.
Yes.
2021. And we're here at episode 9.
Yes, episode 9. How did
Consistency.
we get here?
It's a consistency for me, okay? It's consistency.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and like we always say, we'll be back with more episodes. Thank you so much for watching.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Peace.
I'm going outside to your door.
Outside.
I'll find you.
I'll find you.
I do.